and that's the truth. Like,
yeah, one of the biggest things in life. I mean, this is kind of cliche, and everybody that knows me kind of like knows that like I kind of like to take big risks sometimes. Like, oh, I'll take a big risk doing this or that, or I kind of don't have a think twice personality. This is probably side by side. It takes money to make money.
if you really want to start a legit business, it costs money to do that.
Just it's $800 for your first year is free. Second year is $800.
That franchise tax board.
That FTB.
So the first time we recorded this podcast, what we realized is, one, this camera right here was way off. This camera right here stopped recording like 30 minutes into it. And this camera was absolutely perfect, which I think he messed up because it's not exactly...
It's pretty much dead center.
I hope so.
No, it is.
Okay. And we recorded that on New Year's Eve. I convinced him to come out because I literally just got done setting up this room. And it's still not even set up. This is like 30% done. So it's not even, it has so much more to go to progress to get to where I want it to be. And we recorded that podcast, and unfortunately, it was a complete failure. We rambled on about subjects that honestly didn't even make sense. And I mean, it made sense to us, but to people that were going to watch it, doesn't make any sense. So this is a perfect example of when you fall, you got to get it back up again. You got to do it again, and to have people by your side that are going to stick with you through those failures and mess ups and help you along the way. So the premise of this podcast, the Motion Podcast, is to talk about the mess ups that we go through on our personal journey, whether it be an entrepreneurial journey, an artistic journey, in our journey in furthering your career, right? Because we have intrapreneurs and we have entrepreneurs. And then, of course, we have everything in between, like artists. So this particular journey, episode number 1, it's going to be a journey about me and my cousin and where we first hit it off. And then from there, what the mentality that we needed in order to get through the types of hurdles that we did or what we had in business, right? So my question to you, Eli, is when do you feel like was the first time as cousins that we hit it off on a business standpoint?
I think that when you came to grandma's house, grandma's house, and you were super skinny. I remember you being super skinny. I think you just got out of a relationship or something like that, and then we just hung out, and I was like, man, you look good, but you looked pretty cut, pretty cut up, and I was like, man, you look pretty good, man. And then we just started talking about, just life and what you're doing for work and whatnot, and I just thought you were a pretty cool guy, and as an adult, like we got to hang out a little bit as kids, but not as much as as we do now, But that's pretty much it.
Yeah, and I remember for me that first time was we had this conversation, and you were like, I think that we were like talking about, that's my phone. We were talking about how you were selling candy at high school, like the Mexican candies, and no one was doing that at your particular high school.
Yeah.
And that just reminded me of being a teen, and I was like, dude, my cousin's a hustler. Mm-hmm. Like that's what I used to do.
Yep.
And I was just thinking like, dude, there's nobody else like this in my family that's a hustler like this. And I feel like our first step into business together was selling glasses. I was buying these glasses in LA.
Yeah.
And
I remember that. Yeah.
And I convinced you to sell them for me at high school. And I was like, dude, I'll pay you commission. You can make better money because you can sell these for $10, $15.
Right.
And I think that for me was the first kickoff of us being in business together. Now, fast forward, we always kind of were in business together, from selling cable together at DirecTV to selling solar at Solar City. What's another business that we had? I feel like I'm missing something in between.
You were at that time you were selling your clothing line, Rompador.
That's right.
Art Walks, and I helped you out with that, and then you would pay me like a percentage.
Yeah.
And for selling, it was also selling, and then what else did we do? We did quite a bit. Yeah, we did little odds and ends in between then, and I feel like that was the first kickoff of us being in business together. Mhm.
And that's when we realized through those different experiences that, oh shoot, like we kind of fit together like a puzzle piece.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the things that I lacked in, you made up for, and a lot of things that you lacked in, I made up for.
Right. Right.
You
Yeah.
know, so you were offered the opportunity to buy a business back in 2016, I think, or 17.
Yeah. I think it was like 2016,
16 or
I
17,
believe. Yeah.
something like that. And that was a kiosk business in the Citadel.
Yeah. Citadel outlets in LA in Commerce.
Okay, so talk to me about that and why. What was the decision of? Because to be quite honest with you, bro, you could have done that by yourself.
Yeah.
Like you knew everything that you needed to know about that business. I knew nothing about it.
Yeah.
So what? First off, what was the business, and secondly, why did you decide to bring me in on it?
Yeah. That business was a beauty business. It was selling hair straighteners, curlers, extensions, things of those sorts. And it was at a kiosk, and an owner basically presented the offer to me to take over that business if I helped him, start the business and hire, train, fire people at times, and sell the product, But I think what I was interested in was being a business owner, you know, and he had offered me, the business at a price, but it was a ridiculous price. And and I think I spoke with you about it. I spoke with my brother about it. And you were like telling me like, what do you mean? Like you're gonna pay this much money for the business? And I'm like, yeah, dude, like I can make a lot of money doing this, and like you don't know the numbers, man. Like I promise you, if I show you the numbers, you're gonna see how much I made and blah blah blah. But but it came down to basically the result was the leasing manager for that mall happens also to be a good friend of the owners that I was working for at the time, and he wanted to hand me the lease and basically had me re-sign his contract because his lease was about to expire under my name, and then I was going to take over the business, but I was going to pay him a certain percentage a month of my sales, and then I was going to pay him in X amount of dollars, right? But I didn't end up doing that because I was like, wait, he's going to sell me a business that I created. So without me, there is no business. No disrespect to him, but at the same time, what are you selling me? A value. I'm the value here. I had to find out what was the true value of that business, and it was me. I was like, I put together everything. Like you just paid the bills because you signed the lease.
Mm-hmm.
But everything else I did. The whole functionality of the whole business, the hiring, the training, the firing, the what to order, which POS to use, all that was all me. And I was like, and I basically the last week I was like, what do you mean? Like, I'm not gonna pay you anything.
Yeah.
And he was like, what do you mean? You're gonna just take it for free? And I'm like, yeah, I am the business. Without me, try to sell the business without me. It's not worth anything. It's just a straightener. It's just a whole bunch of product on the kiosk. But without any employees, you're not gonna have a business.
Mm-hmm.
And he realized, like, that's actually a good point.
Gotcha.
Yeah, checkmate, right?
Gotcha.
So yeah, that was pretty much it. Then he ended up closing, and I didn't end up taking over the business because the owner of that mall didn't want to re-sign a demonstration kiosk, and we had to demonstrate this product in order for it to sell.
So what was the conscious decision? Why did you want to bring me in? Where did I come into play?
So he basically called me a couple days later and had all this inventory he wanted to sell, and he was going to take it to the swap meet and sell it. He wanted me to help. He wanted me to help him sell it, the rest of his inventory at a swap meet. And I was like, I don't know about that, because he kind of like screwed me over in a couple ways that I didn't really like. But long story short, I ended up, working for him again, just making a bunch of commission or percentage or whatever. And he kind of owed me, I felt like he owed me something because I didn't end up getting the business after all. So I was like, well, I have an idea. How about you give me this business? Give me the rest of your inventory and, this little setup you got here, and we'll call it even. And he was like, well, give me a day to think about it. He thought about it, and the next day he brought the product over, and I was in business for myself, from that point on. And that was the first time I really like had my own, per se business, at the swap meet. And then I needed help to move this product now because I had a whole bunch of product I had to move. And I was like, who do I know that's good at sales? And I was like, oh, my cousin, And I was like, I'm gonna call Vince, and I ended up calling you and convincing you of that whole bit. And then you came on board, and you got addicted to it when you saw the numbers and the sales and how easy it was. And
So just for reference, when he had mentioned that he was gonna buy this kiosk business, I was already hesitant. I was like, dude, you shouldn't buy a kiosk business. Like, like how much do those make? And then he had showed me the POS numbers, and this business had done like $280,000 in like 9 months. And I was like, there's no way, $290,000 or $280,000 in 9 months from this little kiosk at the mall. There's no way. There's no way. So when he showed me the numbers, at that point, I was sold. I'm like, I'm in, bro. Like, whatever we need to do to make this kiosk work, I'm down to partner up with you on this. And then, that ended up happening, and the kiosk deal didn't go through. And long story short, he brought me back in to sell the product with him at the swap meet. And we were doing so well there financially that I was like, dude, let's do the kiosk again. Let's open the kiosk. And at that point, my cousin turned into a Karen.
Yeah.
And he was like, no way, we're not going to do a kiosk. There's overhead, there's rent, there's all of these other factors involved in.
And keep in mind, I just got out of a kiosk, and I know like the expenses, the rent, like everything that comes along with it. And I know the investment. And I was like, dude, we can't do that. It's too much.
Yeah. He was like, no way. So we ended up opening, long story short, is that we ended up opening this kiosk through a lot of arguing back and forth and figuring out that how much money that we needed to get. And my mother-in-law at the time loaned us $15,000. I put in $5,000 of my own. Eli put in a couple grand of his own too. And we even borrowed money from one of your friends to get this kiosk together, because we kind of hobbled. Money needed to come in at certain times that we didn't have. So like I put in, he put in, and then somebody put in, and then a few days later we'd pay them back because of like the timing that rent and lease and all these other things went on. But to give you viewers an understanding of like why that is so important is because we learned our most important lesson in those like 2 weeks to ramping up and opening this kiosk. And the first lesson that we learned was it is very expensive to be cheap. It cost us so much money to try to do things the cheap way and try to work around things. Like remember when we built the cabinets?
Built the cabinets.
We built the cabinets in his dad's garage, and we got yelled at from the kiosk manager.
Yeah,
the mall manager.
Well, once we stayed up late, man, we stayed up to like 4 or 5 in the morning, like a couple nights before. We were like doing it for like 2 days, 3 days. It took us like a couple of days to build. And we were painting and sanding and cutting, and it was crazy. But we ended up completing our little rendering, right? But with like plywood, right? With plywood and glass, and it was weird, man. But we ended up doing it, and then we get to the booth, and he, the leasing manager's coming to approve it, and it's your first day, guys. Hey guys, how you guys doing? And then he's like, "What is this? What is this shit?" And he said it like that. And it took me back because he's not that type of guy to be, using the words like that. And I was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "What is this shit?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, this can't be here. This is wood. We can't use wood outside. It's gonna warp. What do you guys cannot, no, you guys cannot open with this. You guys get this shit out of my kiosk. And then he walked away.
He just turned around and walked away.
And I was like, dude, I looked at Vince. I was like, bro, what are we going to do?
He was like, you're not opening today.
Yeah.
And to top that off, it rained our entire first week of opening our kiosk, which wouldn't be bad if we were indoor kiosk, but we were outdoor kiosk.
It's outdoor mall.
So when it rained, we were closed. The major shops were open, of course, but the kiosks all closed up. So like first hurdle, it's very expensive to be cheap. That's the first thing that we learned, because we ended up having to remake those cabinets through a professional cabinet maker. And, through the grace of God, we actually got it done in 24 hours. But
48.
Like 2 days. We got that
a couple
done.
Days. Yeah, we
Yeah.
lost a couple days. So we lost money. We lost money not only on the first set of cabinets that was material cost, plus our time. Plus, when we got to got to the booth the first day, we lost that day. Plus 2 extra days to get the cabinets built, and then it was raining on top of that. So we lost like a week in like total, with the rain, cabinets. But it is that was very expensive lesson for us because we lost so many days, which was revenue that we lost, plus the cost of labor, plus our time, plus the cost of new cabinets, And these other cabinets weren't cheap, they were pretty expensive. But I think that was our first lesson tied in with the other first lesson, because I know that you could say one first lesson, second lesson, but this is probably side by side. It takes money to make money. That's like a huge thing. It is expensive to be cheap, but if you have to have the money in order to even get to, it's expensive to be cheap. Because it takes money to make money, and that's like the hardest thing.
Yeah, that was a big realization.
That's what stops everybody, I think, in these days of starting a business is the cost.
Yeah, I can't disagree with you, because it made me realize if you really want to start a legit business the right way, it's going to cost some figures.
Yeah.
It's not going to be a couple $1,000s. I mean, there are people out there that have done that.
Yeah.
Started with a few $100s, couple $1,000.
But that's a one-off.
But that's like a very, very one-off. The reality of it is that if you really want to start a legit business, it costs money to do that. And I don't care what way you look at it.
Yeah.
Whether someone says, "Oh, I started my business with only $100." Well, sure, you may have started with a logo on a website for $100, but eventually you had to put in some real money, some real skin in the game in order to actually start a real business.
And just side note, just to have a California-based business, it's $800 a year. Just it's $800 for your first year is free, second year is $800.
That franchise tax board.
That FTB.
They want your money. They want your money.
Yeah, but
I love you guys, by the way.
Yeah.
If y'all listening to this, love you guys.
I moved a few times, so my address on file is not correct.
Just in case y'all trying to find me.
In case, I didn't get those letters.
I did not receive.
I did not receive the letters you sent.
Letters.
But I think that this is important for somebody who's like wanting to start a business. Whether that's out of your garage or like starting at the at the top, I guess you could say, and spending a bunch of money into starting off the correct way, which is what we like to do. Is we like to start off the correct way, but we like to go all out when it comes to business.
Yeah. So let me ask you this: with our kiosk, what do you feel like? When did you feel like I don't want to say that we made it, right? That's the wrong wording. But when did you feel like, wow, we've got a business, like we've got a real business?
I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna tell you this, bro. I'm gonna tell you this, and this is something that I didn't say in the first take that we did in this podcast, and this is the realest. You were telling me beforehand, before we started the podcast, to like bring up like the emotional, like the emotional part of going through what we went through, you know. And I think one of the biggest things is my dad and my mom. Like when I told them about this business idea, they were like, "What?" Like, my dad's like big on like, this is not economy proof, son. Like the beauty industry is not economy proof. Like what are you gonna do? Like when there's a big something goes on, happens in the world, they're not gonna go buy straighteners. And I'm like, yeah, that's kind of true. I'm like, that's probably true. And my mom was like, you're investing all this money, you're borrowing money from people, and you're doing this and doing that. You're gonna end up in the street, and you're gonna be homeless, and blah blah blah. I remember getting into arguments. I remember I was in my car sitting in the rain. It was like traumatic. Like it was in the rain. I was arguing with my mom. Like she was telling me like I'm gonna end up like in the street. And I get why. Like I get why she said that now. In that moment I was like, screw you, But in that moment I was like, dang, like my mom doesn't believe in me. But that like Russ says, desperation breeds a beast, right? So like that kind of made me desperate to like prove her wrong. And when we had that big month of like, I think it was like 30K or 40K or something like that, and we had a big month, and I was like, wow, like we had so many employees, and we went to that, we rented those Segways on the beach because we just couldn't be at the booth because there were so many people there. And I realized like, wow, like my mom and my dad later after that month, when I showed them the POS, I showed them the numbers, how big of a month we did. They came and visit me right after. They came to the booth. My mom came to the booth, visited, and she was like, wow, this is so nice, blah, 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 blah. And like, that was real. I was like, wow, like my mom sees this now as a successful business. You know, even though we may not have been the most successful business on the planet, but we're successful in our own eyes because it's like, wow, we generated revenue that only some could dream of. You know, we made almost you know, some people's salary out there for the whole year. It's what people made in a year.
Yeah, we made it in 1 month.
We made it in a month, and within 30 days. And my dad, he came also. He came with my stepmom, and he was like, wow, son, look at you. This is nice. I'm real proud of you. He even took me to dinner at the little dinner spot right there. I forget what it's called.
Two to Tango?
No. It's the restaurant right next to our booth. It was like a steakhouse.
Oh, I know. I remember.
Yeah,
I forgot the name, but I know.
Steakhouse that was there. I don't think it's there anymore, but yeah, he even bought me dinner. Like that was huge for me. Like that's the emotional part that's like people don't see that stuff. They just see me with the kiosk.
You know what it was for me? Now that you're bringing this up, this is the biggest pivoting point in my entire career was when I was like, dude, where are we gonna get this money? Like, there's just no way. Like, it would take me a couple of years to save up this money. Like, and that's such a big risk. But like, we have to figure it out. And when we put our minds together and we like exhausted I applied for loan, bro. I was applying for crazy loans, like 110% interest loans, bro. Like to try to get this money, right? And my wife at the time, she was like, "Why don't you just ask my mom? Right? She's gonna get money out to fix her house. Like, why don't you ask her?" I'm like, I don't know. I don't feel right about doing that. You know, like this isn't like if I fail, I want to fail on my own, like with my own money.
Yeah, not risk other people's money.
Risk other people's money. But
especially
then when
her whole life, you know, her whole life working and making that 401k.
It's definitely not her whole life. She got a lot more money in there than that. But
yeah.
But it was, you know, it was somebody's retirement money.
It's years,
regardless, years put in, regardless the way you look at it. And when I had talked to her about it, I remember me and you talked to her about it. And I remember the day that I told her about it, and she said, "Vince, I believe in you. I'm going to give you the money." I was at a loss for words. I was like, wait, you're saying that you're going to invest?
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and I remember we came up with the payment schedule, interest rate, everything, right? Like that we were going to pay her back.
We wanted to help her now.
And she said, "I don't care about what I'm going to get back. I believe in you." And at that moment, bro, like the emotions, like what I felt in that moment was like, oh, goddamn, like this is real. Like this is real.
Yeah.
Because prior to that, I was working at a place called Solar City. I just got laid off.
Yeah.
So, and my wife was pregnant. She was about to give birth just a few months after I got laid off. So I'm like, dude, what am I going to do? Yeah. So I ended up going into business for myself, starting a marketing agency. And like, I was in full grind mode with no help from anybody around me, right? None of my family were in a financial position to help me in that sense, right? And to be able to have an idea and for somebody to believe in you enough, which our story is actually truly about a story about our ingenuity and our self-belief and how that projects into other people believing in us, which leads us down an amazing path, right? But this is the first like stepping stone in us. I feel like me realizing my value. I'm like, wow, I have my mind and my sheer ability to will things into existence is valuable. And I didn't know that until that moment. And then the second moment was obviously like when we had that big month.
Yeah.
Right. And the more I think about it, dude, like, you know, we were a perfect balancing act because when I was like, let's open the kiosk, right? I was so like hungry for it.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, dude, relax.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Yeah. I was like, nah, we're not going to do that right now. It's
And
too
then,
much.
and then the next step was like, bro, let's create our own brand. And you're like, dude, no.
Yeah, that was the
Right?
next next step after the kiosk. We had a few good months, and we're like, dude, let's take this to the next level. Let's, instead of ordering from somebody else, let's make our own brand.
And that brand experience, which led us down a even crazier path of getting into cosmetology schools all across California, which led us into our first sale ever. Like we sold our business in 2019.
It's crazy.
Which that moment, like let me ask you that. When we started Adagio California, like when we started Adagio Hair Tools, did you ever think that we were going to sell that?
No. Honestly, I don't think that there was ever a time that I thought we were ever going to sell it.
I didn't even think about selling a business.
No.
I didn't even know that was like I knew there was a thing, but I thought that was a thing at like corporate levels. Like,
yeah, it's like, oh, it's a Walmart. Like,
you know what I mean? Like
Chick-fil-A to you, yeah.
Like Pixar got bought by Disney. You know, like I thought it was something that happened at a massive level. Like you had to build such a huge organization and monster of a business to get bought.
Yeah.
I didn't know that you could buy like a little tiny organization, you know?
It wasn't an organization.
It was like a little tiny brand.
It was a tiny
Me and you.
box.
It was
Boxes,
a shoebox.
It was a shoebox, yeah.
Yeah, we had a little shoebox.
That we fluffed up a little bit.
and we sold our little shoebox, bro. Talk to me about how that felt.
That was cool. I mean, it was a cool moment that I feel like, you know, it's something that I got to experience, like selling a business. But it wasn't the price or selling a business for me. I think it was what I sold to who I sold it to, you know?
Okay, explain that.
We sold a hair tools company, right? Adagio Hair Tools, which is now Adagio, California. We sold Adagio Hair Tools to an owner that already had a very successful, still today, has that same successful hair tools business. And that was crazy to me because it's like, oh, you know, I could sell ice to an Eskimo. Like, you know, people joke around like that.
Yeah.
And this is the ice we're selling to the Eskimo. Who has, you know, and he has unlimited resources, unlimited access to straighteners, and could build his own brand and within 48 hours and be up and running like us.
And just so you guys know that what we had was different in the branding aspect, but what we had physically was exactly the same product that this individual was importing thousands and thousands of units of every single month.
No, hundreds of thousands.
Hundreds of thousands, that's right. Hundreds of thousands of these units every single month. So if he wanted to start another brand, he could have started another brand like that within a couple hours, right? So it wasn't like he was buying the business, right? Because the business and the product was irrelevant. This was the second standpoint that, and it comes up time and time again. In business, it's not about the business itself. It's who you're becoming while you're running your business, while you're running your journey, right?
And just, I didn't mean to cut you off, but as a side note to that, or to run off of what you just said, he said that at one point. He said, I'm not buying your business, only your business. I'm buying you guys. I'm buying your knowledge and your skill and what you guys are doing and your vision. Like he bought us. Yeah. What he was saying.
Because you know why, bro? And it's because the business was irrelevant. We've established that what we developed and the skills that we developed were the actual valuable thing.
Yeah.
And how he bought our product at a plus premium.
Yeah.
Right. He bought back our product at what we paid for it on top of a premium because he wanted us to duplicate what we had done in our business in his business.
Right.
Right. So
for his
brand.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like,
because he had other plans for our brand.
Mm-hmm.
He had other plans.
So long story short is that acquisition, it was a micro acquisition and it wasn't anything that changed our lives, but it was something that changed our lives like prophetically, so to speak, right? Because it was another reassurance, another good omen that we were down the right path mentally down the right path as owners, down the right path as entrepreneurs, because what we were developing was a skill set that very few people had in this industry.
And I think as we dive deeper into this podcast, you know, in the future, I'm sure we're gonna have more episodes of you and I, and you know, I'm sure you're gonna explain a lot of this in your other business talks with other entrepreneurs. But I think that's what you're bringing to this. If I'm correct, if that's what you're bringing to this podcast, is that value that he bought. He bought what we knew, what we learned, that he could have learned, but it would have took him a little bit of time. But he bought that. He bought that struggle. He bought our lessons that we learned the hard way.
Whoo,
You know,
fire.
and I think that's huge for this podcast. Is they bought you're buying, like, hitting that subscribe button is like buying our lessons. You're skipping the lessons.
You know, that is one of the biggest lessons I've learned throughout this, is in combination with it's very expensive to be cheap and it costs money to make money, is that you can shortcut your success if you know where to look and how to buy other people's mistakes.
Yeah.
Right? Because if you can buy other people's mistakes, then you don't need to make them. They've made them for you.
Yeah.
Right? And that's exactly what he was doing. He was like, dude, I don't have the time.
Yeah.
My bandwidth is so
bought his
stretched.
time.
He bought his time. And he's like, that's worth whatever I'm going to pay these guys, because what they're doing with their small brand, if I plug my organization, my actual huge branding,
My machine.
my machine into what they're doing on a smaller scale, I can scale this up and this can be something huge.
Which is exactly what he did.
Which is exactly what he did. So fast forward, the brand, what he was able to do, like, this is what's really impressive to me, what he was able to do with his negotiation skills was get into his branding skills. He was able to get into a company called BoxyCharm. Now, BoxyCharm is a subscription-based service that ships out beauty products to people all across the nation, all across the world, right? And they had done a deal with Kim Kardashian. BoxyCharm did this deal. Now, he had put Adagio California, he'd rebranded from Adagio Hair Tools to Adagio California, because our brand at the time said Adagio Hair Tools, designed in California, right? Because we were a California brand. We were owning that we are a California brand. Like, our branding, everything about it was California.
Right.
So Adagio California was in that month's subscription. And what happened is, me and Eli were taking a business meeting at BJ's Pizza, and one of our friends messaged me. They're like, "Hey, bro, Kim Kardashian shouting out your brand. That's your brand, right? Adagio?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?"
Mm-hmm.
And then Eli had checked his phone too. He's like, "Yeah, I got sent the same message." So we opened it up, and long and behold, Kim Kardashian is like
In her stories on
Instagram is pointing at our tool. I'll clip it. I'll clip it in here. And she said
she was like, "You guys should go get it. This straightener is so cute," and blah blah blah, or something like that.
So I just opened it up, and it has the cutest mini flat iron. I'm so obsessed with mini things, and this one is so good. I'm so excited.
Yeah, she's like, "It's my favorite." And then her daughter comes on, and she's like, "Ew, why are you talking like that?"
Yeah. She was like getting on her about how she's speaking, like she's speaking different. And I think it went viral on TMZ.
Yeah, TMZ. It went viral on TMZ.
Picked up their Instagram stories. Yeah, and kind of boosted sales for that, whatever was in that box.
Yeah, it was hilarious, and I remember getting blown up.
I remember getting messages. People were like, "Oh, I want to get a straightener. I want to get a straightener," or they would send me pictures of that they already bought the straightener, or they got the straightener in the BoxyCharm.
Oh, where were you guys?
And that's why I was like, "Oh, really? So you want to buy it now?" But yeah, that's what it is.
I think it's another lesson well learned is like, and it's a harsh lesson. It was a harsh lesson now that I'm really thinking about it, bro. It's a really harsh lesson, but it's a lesson that's well learned, is that unless you're popular, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. And that's the truth. Like,
yeah.
Like,
if I start a t-shirt business today, says ABC shirts, and I have all my friends and family, "Hey, can you guys buy a shirt?" Most likely one or two might. Mm-hmm. One or two might. And those ones are like, that's probably like my mom, like my dad. Like,
But as soon as like Taylor Swift puts on that ABC shirt,
Puts on the AB. All of a sudden,
All of
I
a
know.
sudden.
I know. Oh, my friend is the guy who started the ABC shirts.
oh,
My
I know that.
friend-
I know the owner.
I know that guy. He's my best friend. We go way back. We go way back.
You know what's funny is at a bar. Oh my god, it's so funny. At a bar, I saw these shirts. All the security guards were wearing, and it said, "Yeah, I know the owner too."
Oh, that's funny. I like that.
And it's like one of those things where it's like you start a brand, you start a company, and all of a sudden it's nothing to anybody unless somebody of importance is wearing it or rocking it or doing something
And
with
this
it.
and this very first episode of your podcast is that ABC shirt just starting.
That's right.
And you know what? When you have some bigger names, you know, than myself, I don't know if you'll find bigger names than myself, but I'm just gonna be humble here. But you know, I think I think that once you have some bigger names on this podcast, that you know you'll see who started with you, you know, and you should. I don't know what you can do with that. I don't know if you should screenshot the first 100 subscribers and keep that and frame it and put it right here on this brick wall.
Yeah, I'm gonna think of something creative. Actually, I'm gonna think of something really creative. The first
1,000
or 100.
Yeah, do milestones.
I think 100 and then 1,000 and then
Right.
we'll figure it out from there. Like what I want to do, but I want to do something different, special.
But you know what you should do is out of those people that have hit that subscribe button, see how many of them you know. And that will not only confirm what we're talking about, because your friends are going to see it.
Because it's free to subscribe, guys.
Yeah, like the
Doesn't
YouTubers.
cost anything.
Hit that subscribe, comment below, repost this. But no,
Yeah.
on all seriousness, like, you could screenshot that and see which people that you actually know, and then count them. And then in a future podcast, when you have 1,000 subscribers, or even 100, 100 subscribers, and just be like, out of all those 100, and you don't have to mention their names, just be like, there's only this many that I know.
In silence, I'll know.
Yeah, but you could even
In silence,
you
I'll
could
know.
even bring it out to the podcast, because this is the real numbers.
You
know
know
what I mean?
What you're talking about right now, it kind of hits me in a way that I care. Like I've supported people's businesses so many times, like where people have offered me discounts for things, and I'm like, no, well, how much do you sell it for? I sell it for this much. Well, no, I don't need a discount. Like that's how much I'm gonna go pay. I'm gonna go pay $35 for a Young LA shirt. There's no reason why I shouldn't pay $25. If you're selling it for $25, I don't need a discount. I'm gonna buy your shirt
Right.
for $25.
Yeah.
Right. I'm gonna go buy a $80 Young LA shirt, jacket, hoodie. If you're selling your hoodie for $60, I'm paying $60. Because I'm going to give it to this big corporation that's making money hand over fist. Why wouldn't I support? Because think about this, guys. We all have friends that are rocking the Louis bag, the Coach bags, the Prada bags.
For how much?
The red
How
bottoms.
much are they
How much are
rocking
they
that for?
paying? Exactly. And
For free.
if you have a business
For free.
and they're throwing it on their social media for free.
Not even Louis Vuitton, like Nike. Like Nike is on my feet right now.
Yeah.
Like Nikes. You can be rocking Young LA. You can be rocking anything you're wearing right now, you're rocking for free.
Yeah.
If you don't have 1 million subscribers on YouTube.
Yeah, but
or
that's
Instagram.
and exactly, dude. And
You
that's
know?
the point. It's
Yeah.
like if you have a friend that has a business, dude, like you're gonna spend the money somewhere. You're gonna spend the money somewhere. Just pay your boy.
Yeah, we're not
Pay your homegirl.
and we're not talking about people that are influencers. I mean, that's what you're doing as a career or a job, or as something that you like to do as a hobby. We're talking about everyday 300 follower accounts. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're talking about those guys. We're talking about the guys that have 5,000 followers. Those small guys. And I think that's important. Like those ones, I think, are the ones who stay the longest too.
Yeah.
You know?
And you know what? I think it's one of those things too, where it's like, and I get it. I get it from the other end too. I get it from the viewer, from the purchaser's end too. It's like, dude, like, are you just gonna go start another business? Like, is this gonna be another thing?
Oh, that's my family.
You know what I mean? So, and I get that. I get that perspective. It's like, dude, I get I want to support you, but at the same time, are you going to go start another thing? Are you going to go do another business? Are you going to start another thing? Right? But at the same time, what people don't understand is that, like, hey, when you were cooking and riding a bike, you're going to mess up. You're going to fall. When you're cooking, you're not going to get that recipe right the first time. You're just not. It's just, that's life. It's going to taste like crap. Like, that's
100%.
that is the honest truth. So, like, when someone's down this path of discovering, whether they're an entrepreneur, trying to discover their career, or trying to be an artist, whatever it is, like, their first things aren't going to be anything, most likely. Like, they're not. That's just the truth. And with each iteration, with each try, they're going to get better and better at building up that skill set, the tenacity, that alligator-like skin, right? And getting better and better at going through those hardships. So why not support them along that journey? Whether that's going to be their business for the long term or their business right now, because they're going to remember you when they go down that path of reaching their success.
You know, and I know we're kind of dragging this part on, but
this is so important.
You know, it is important. But I think what's crazy to you and I'm kind of thinking about our friends that had businesses, right? And all the people that we know that are, you know, have a brand or have something, we have always supported them, and they always hit us up first because they know that we're not just talking about, you guys should actually go and subscribe. You guys should actually support your friends and family, even if it's not successful, because that's what's going to help them to become successful, is giving them that little empowerment, that little backing. But honestly, sometimes it could actually do them better justice if they didn't have these supporters or followers, because it drives people. It drove us, like with our family or situation, with all the things that we had riding on the on the line.
How's your little business doing?
Yeah, how's your little business?
You still in the little beauty? You still in the little beauty business?
Oh, you still in the little beauty business? Oh, the multi-billion-dollar business?
Oh yeah, the business that we just closed $82,000 this weekend. Yeah, I'm still in that business.
Oh, the little small one. Yeah.
Yeah,
Are you still in that little small construction business?
Yeah.
The one that you're getting paid $18 an hour for, as a project manager.
So it's like one of those things.
No, $18 an hour is actually pretty good.
That's pretty. Actually, are they hiring?
I don't know. I was gonna ask.
Right.
Hey, if you guys know anyone who's hiring for construction
Like
business,
18. Yeah, I'll take 18.50.
I'll take 15.
17.75.
I don't know what the minimum wage is these days, but
that's so funny. But yeah, we'll get off our soapbox on this subject because there's so much more that I want to talk about down this path. But like, there are so many things that you can do to support somebody that are free. And that's just something to think about, right?
Yep.
Me Yep.
One of
the
things, like
this podcast.
Thank you.
But
hit subscribe button.
And this episode was sponsored by me.
By his wallet.
By my wallet.
By his credit card. By Amex American Express.
Thank you so much, MasterCard, for sponsoring me and charging me 29%. Yeah. 20, whatever it is.
$29.99.
Thank you so much. One of the other things I want to talk about is, okay, we saw that business. How did you feel? Not immediately after, because we got excited, but like, how did you feel after? Because I know exactly how I felt. I'll tell you how I felt, and then you can tell me how you felt.
Yeah.
I felt lost. Dude, I felt like I didn't have purpose anymore.
Yeah.
Because we sold it and it was like hype. Oh, yeah, I sold it. And I remember like low key, I was a little like braggadocious about it. Like, yeah, I sold a business. Like, ooh, like I'm the fucking shit. For like the first 30 days.
We were sitting on a little bit of money, and I think that we were like, oh, we even popped champagne in the kitchen. Remember?
Yeah, we popped champagne in the kitchen, and like Joel was there, and Joel's a big pivotal part on how we made that brand happen. But
yeah, shout out to
Joel. And but after we sold it, dude, like after we actually sold it and got back to working with the guy that we sold it to, because that was a part of the brand deal.
Yeah, I was dreading going into work every day, working with him. Not that I don't like the guy, you know, he's a good guy. He's a very smart businessman, but I think that's kind of what we did. We wanted to pick his brain because he's very successful in our world of business, and I think that we wanted to get better at that world. And I think that's kind of why we took the deal anyways, because for one, we had an option. We can either, you know, re-up our supply, which we had to find more money for, because we were using that money to eat, you know?
Yeah, we were using every penny to pay taxes and to eat.
Yeah. So I think that like we did it kind of just it was cool for the money, but we knew it was going to run out. But I think we really wanted to pick his brain and see like what that was all about.
My biggest thing when we had sold it to him was, I want to learn from you. And I feel like I didn't get that. And it's nothing on him. right?
Yeah.
He was running an organization that was like taking at that moment,
Yeah.
like at that time that he had
He's
bought
a slave
us,
to the business.
like he was going down a path that was so fast. Like he was doing deals with BoxyCharm, he was doing deals with like Macy's. He was doing so many different things that I saw that from an outside perspective, and I was like, dude, I want in on how to do. I want to learn how to do that. Right. And I mean, he was just so busy with consumed with that I didn't realize at the time he was buying us for a skill set and to get time back because he wanted to do what we were doing. He just didn't have the bandwidth to go do it.
Yeah.
Right. And I didn't realize that. And after we had sold the brand to him, we're working with him, I just felt empty. I felt lost. I felt like I lost a part of my soul because a part of me is being an entrepreneur. That is who I am. That's like literally in my DNA.
Yeah.
I don't remember the last time I worked for somebody as a W-2 employee. And
I don't think so.
And
I don't remember either.
And that's like,
I
do actually.
It was the same place.
Yeah, it was the same exact place. And it was like, that was like during COVID. That's so crazy.
Yeah.
But like, and that's just because I was going crazy. I was like losing my mind. I was like, I need to do something.
Yeah.
And the money was good too. But like, it was that experience of selling something and realizing like, wow, I lost like I lost a baby.
Yeah.
I lost something that I was pouring my very essence into. We were staying up till 3, 4 in the morning working on this thing. And I felt empty. I don't know how you felt. How did you feel?
Yeah, I felt like I was like, at first I was like, oh, this is cool, kind of like the same vibe you were getting. And I wanted to retire after that, but the money wasn't a big enough check for me to retire. I don't think I could even retire for another 30 days after that. But I think that I was like, okay, cool. I got a little bit of money cushion, and I wanted to save that for the rest of my life. Like I was like, cool, I got a retirement like little chunk, which would have lasted me like a week. But I think that later on, I got bored. Like I got bored. Like maybe that's the same as what you were feeling, but I kind of took it as like, now what? Like I'm just working now. Then what?
Then what?
Like and I think that's like something that you and I live on. Like that's like we're like this is like a drug addict type of behavior of what's next. We need to get the next hit.
Shoot, yeah. Unfortunately,
but it's a good bad problem that we have.
It's the best bad problem that we have.
Yeah, because we're like, what's next, dude? Like we're like, this podcast was next.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? And then like anything, like we have some other plans with still in the beauty world. That's next. And like we have so many what's next that we're working on all the what's next at once.
Yeah, I think that's the most exciting part about being an entrepreneur, right? Is the what's next. As an employee, your employer dangles the carrot in front of you. Here's your next promotion. Here's your next raise, whatever it may be, right? As an entrepreneur, our mind is the one that creates our next carrot, right? It's like, oh, imagine if I hit this level, I can have these things. If I do this, I can have these things, right? So we create our own carrots, and our carrot can be as big or as small as we want it to be. And I think it's the addiction of chasing it that is the most exciting, because what if it does happen the way that we want it to? And like Russ said, bro, this blew my mind. He said that his mom always told him, what if it happens better than how you imagined? And like that idea is why I felt so like depressed after the sale of that, because I'm like, now I have nothing to look forward to.
That kind of reminded me of something too that Russ said also, but it's kind of something that is a summary of what we've been talking about this whole time that we learned. And this is another learning. We're always learning, and I think that these key points is what we learned is like what the viewers can actually take at a value. Hopefully that they can see this and be like, wow, it's actually pretty valuable. I'm glad that they discussed that, but it was mainly this. It was, we would tell everybody, hey, we're starting a business. We would run around, we're starting a business. Everyone's starting a business. Follow us, we're starting a business, blah, 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 And we were so excited because like that's what I think anybody would do. Like they're excited about their business. It's their baby. That's what they're working on. That's what they're staying up late nights, early mornings. That's what they're doing. And they want to tell the world. And then when everyone like including myself, like everyone wants to see you not succeed. Like, and that's what we're kind of touching on earlier. And like some people say like, oh no, I want to see you successful. Like, yeah, okay, cool. Like, thanks. But deep down, like they're if you start hitting big numbers, they're gonna be like, oh watch, he's not gonna have that business no more. Like, oh watch, like I'll give it like a week or a year, and people have that doubt, but that's okay because that also drives people. But now we learned because we did that. And people always be like, oh, you still have that little business? You still have that? You know what I'm saying? Like, that was kind of the stuff that we got, the feedback we got. But Russ said this. He says, I'm always working in silence. Let my success make the noise.
Yeah.
And, like, now, like, we don't say very much about our upcoming business ventures. I think we kind of just do it now.
I think that's something that we've learned along the way. Like, outside of what I'm doing with this particular podcast, because this podcast doesn't have a business model around it. I'm doing this in all honesty with everyone here. I'm doing this because I'm aware that this episode's probably going to get 10 views.
Yeah.
Like all of
I hope it does.
My very close friends, right?
I hope it gets at least 10.
But the reality of it is, and this is the reality, is I thought about this. I mean, I 2 years ago watched this talk by Patrick Bet-David, and he talks about how much would you pay to go back and see videos of your grandparents, your great-grandparents in their prime throughout their life. Like, how much would you pay to see their attitude, what they thought of, what they went through, to hear them talk about their struggles on camera? We live in such a unique era where content can live forever on a library online called YouTube. And for the foreseeable future, this behemoth of a library isn't going out of business. It's only getting bigger and more audacious, and they're paying out more money to creators and to be in business. That, like, why wouldn't you document your history for your future generations to go back and see?
Yeah.
So our daughters are going to be able to look back and show their kids, and their kids are going to be able to show their kids, hey, these are your great grandfathers. Like, look what they were doing. Like, look what they were thinking through. They're going to be able to watch this and see, like, wow, this is what dad was all about. This is what grandpa was all about when he was younger, when he was in his prime or whatever, right?
And I think that, not to cut you off again, but
No, it's okay.
I think that's one of my biggest lessons that I learned is I put a lot of time into business, and I did it for my family, and I do it, for my own personal reasons to get ahead in life and from what people, view as success. But my level of success is keeping my family happy, healthy, and something you can never pay for is more time, and I think that we've always chased that because we didn't get to spend as much time with our parents as we had hoped for because they're out working. And today, in today's world, it takes both mom and dad to go work all day long. And I just didn't want to live that 9 to 5 and be away from my kids from 9 to 5 and be away from home from 9 to 5. I wanted to find another way. Like, and if I had to sacrifice a few years of my life to get there, then I was going to do it, because I don't want to retire super old. I don't want to retire when I'm like having heart attacks and still like, having diabetes problems. Like, I want to be able to be healthy and to go play outside with my kids or teach them something or, and I think that that's very important. That's one of the biggest lessons I learned is like, we're doing all this for family, and I hope that people can take this, not just, it's not all about the money, and money's great. Money does help, but money does amplify whatever you're doing, So if it is about your family, guess what? And you amplified your money, guess what you're going to do for your family? You're going to amplify that level of comfortability,
It's the difference between going to Little Caesars and having, Little Caesars for dinner and a movie at the house, which is beautiful. And I love doing that with my kids.
Yeah. Or taking them to Caesar's Palace.
Or taking them somewhere that's incredible, which I've done too. Like, I've taken my kids to cool, like, little like the Rainforest Cafe for like a treat, or like different experiences that you can do. And it's not that one thing is worse than the other, because quality time is quality time,
right?
But it's the level that you can deliver at that what I believe that I can speak for both of us that we're seeking for, right? Yeah. The level of being able to go out, even stay in and do something with our family whether it be with our kids, with our significant others, and be able to do that and be 100% there.
Yeah. And I'm sure.
And not be thinking about,
Yeah.
there's so many things I have to do for work. There's so many
Yeah.
things I have to do for my business. Like, these bills are coming in, blah, blah, blah. To be somewhere and to be 100% present there. That's what I believe we're chasing.
Yeah. And I'm sure other people would agree with this, is that we want to give our kids more than we had, you know? And
Absolutely.
And I think that like the leveling up of that, like, okay, I'm going to do this for my kids because I never got to do that. Right. I never, because my parents maybe couldn't have afforded it, got to afford it at the time. Right. They couldn't afford this. So, you know, I'm going to do this for them, you know, or, hey, my dad did do this every year. So I want to make sure I have enough money to even just do that. Like my dad he used to take us camping every year. And that's something I didn't do with my kids. I'm like, I took them camping once or twice, you know, and I want to take them camping every year, and I want to level up the gear that we get, you know, and I want to take them on the full experience, you know, and teach them how to survive in the wilderness, and just, you know, cool stuff like that, you know, you can't buy that if you're working 9 to 5. Like, it's hard to. I'm not saying you can't, because people can, but it's hard to. It's hard to take days off because you only got a limited amount of days. You know, you got to use your sick days, your vacation time, and you got a limit, and that's it. You know, and if you go over that limit, you can either get fired or you know, and your life is in someone else's hands. But hey, you know, like, not talking down on jobs, because we need jobs, you know, but I think that also what we do need is more family time. And I think this generation and the generation after us is lacking that family time, you know? I think that's big.
Well said. But let me ask you this. That's a perfect segue into, what do you believe motivates you at a core level? Not just like, I get it a lot. What?
Like family and getting ahead.
Yeah, like family and getting, like I get that money motivates people. You know what I mean? And I think that from the core of what I hear you talking about, it sounds like money is the factor into being able to have the time freedom, right?
Yeah.
But from a core level, I don't know if there's no right or wrong answer.
No, I know the answer already to this, because I've thought about this a million times.
Perfect.
And I live on this because I know, like I said, that drug addict, like, I need the next hit, you know? That's what it is. I think, like, for me, I love a challenge. Like, I love a challenge. Like, that's one of the funnest things I can do, is like challenge myself, you know? Like, not, I can challenge you. Like, that's fun too. Like, I'll challenge anybody. Like, I'll beat you today, you know? And in sales or whatever. But I think that, like, I anybody that knows me knows, like, I like a challenge. I like to, like, challenge myself. I like to level myself up, because I like to learn. I love learning. I love learning. And I think that that's huge in an entrepreneur lifestyle. Like, you have to love to learn, and you have to love the struggle. You have to love the grind. You have to love the journey, you know? And like, I love the journey, and I love the challenge. And I like to know that I did that. I did that. Oh yeah, I've done that. You know, like, I like to be able to relate with other people on many different levels and doing many different things. Like, somebody's like, oh, like, when I go buy a car today, like, for a perfect example, if I go buy a car today and I go to a car dealership, I know the language. They can sell me a car, but I know exactly how the whole car dealership works, because I got the experience.
Foursquare
me. When I walk in, I say, don't Foursquare me, bro. I said, come on.
Don't Foursquare me.
I go, if we can save ourselves a lot of money, I go, look, just send me invoice or show me invoice, you know, or let me talk to your sales manager. I go, let's just knock that out. I'm not paying sticker price, blah, 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 blah. You know, but like, that's just a prime example of like things that I learned along my journey, you know, but I can now relate and I can save myself a bunch of money.
And see, I think that's the thing that from the outside looking in, it's like, dude,
pointless.
You're going to do that. You're going to do the, this is like,
you're going to do it the hard way.
Your third business, your fourth business. But what you're not realizing is that through each iteration, you're learning more and more. Now, the downfall is the back end of that is that unless you apply all of what you're learning and your failures and you're applying it into something productive, that goes nowhere. It's for nothing. But that is the core reason why me and you have done so well in business together because of that. Like, at a core, and I had thought about this, I just recently made a video about this too, is I was like, am I ego driven? Am I self driven? How am I like, what really from the core,
Well, yeah, what would you
from my
say?
core, like what's my driving
Yeah, well,
factors?
if I were to ask you the same thing, what would you say?
Okay. Because I gave this a lot of thought. My core driving factors for myself is I am a scientist and I hate not knowing. I hate not knowing.
The formula?
No, I hate not knowing what could have happened.
Mm.
Like the way
The
I see
FOMO,
it,
huh?
the way I see it is like, yeah, no, in all honesty, it's FOMO. Because in all honesty, like everything you're ever gonna have in life, you're never gonna have it. And the way I mean that is like if you're interested in a girl, well, ask her out because you've already lost her. If she says yes to the date, great. Maybe something happens along your relationship and you guys break up. Maybe you guys get married and you guys get a divorce. Maybe you guys get married, live a long, happy life, and one of you dies first. So at the end of the day, you've already lost her. Start the business because you've already lost it. Because why not? Because at one point, you're going to sell it and no longer own it. At one point, you're going to start it and it's going to fail. At one point, you're going to start it and you're going to retire and somebody else has to take over it. So you've already lost the business. So why not do it? So in my head, what my driving factor is the what ifs are going to drive me nuts. And because of that, I have to try it. Because at least I did it and I know, oh, I suck at that. I'm not going to do that again. Right? Because from my core, it's that hunger, it's that drive of not knowing that is pushing me to figure it out.
Yeah, and it's okay to suck at a business. It's okay
okay.
to suck. It's okay to fail. It's okay to not be good at something because you're good at something. You're good at something, and you got to find it out.
And there's no way to find out unless you try.
Unless you do it.
Look, it's that famous.
It's the stupid. Yeah.
It's that famous saying. It's like if you judge a fish by how well it climbs a tree, then that fish is gonna fail every time. Right? And if you're out there and you're punching away at a job or a business as an entrepreneur that is not working out for you, maybe reevaluate and figure out, you know what, like I like this and I like that, and that's what I got to stick to.
I would say a good piece of advice that I would say that I learned that was huge for the viewers is actually for the people that are working, that have a job. And that lesson is you're already ahead of me. I'm going to just speak for myself, that you're already ahead of me. Because if I would have had a job while I was investing in my business and had a job while I was running my business, maybe I would have probably been okay because I had something to lean back on. It was stable income. And because I didn't, and I invested and I took huge risks and I invested all my money, I invested all my time, I've risked everything, you know, and I've risked my credit. I've risked all of it today. That's still affecting me today. Like, I think that if you want to start a business, it's a good start to have a job and then start the business while still having the job. You know, I think that's huge. Like if you have a job, you're already ahead. Like, I know it may seem like we were talking crap on the people who are working 9 to 5. But it's not even that. I think it's the opposite. I think that if you have a 9 to 5, you're already one step ahead. You
know, for me, entrepreneurism poisoned me because of that. It poisoned me because I had lost my job, so I was forced into. I was already an entrepreneur because I was doing entrepreneur tendencies, but I wasn't a full-fledged entrepreneur because I didn't live off of my income. I lived off of my job's income, and when I was forced into entrepreneurship, I had a taste of what freedom could be. Yeah. And that poisoned my mindset in a good way. And I guess you could look at it that way, because when I had to go back and get a W-2 job, I was miserable. Yeah. Miserable. And it's not to say that
it's just for you.
That's just for me. That's just for me. I was miserable because I'm like, when I want to take a piss, I'm going to go take a piss. I don't need to, hey, I'm going to clock out. You know what I mean? Yeah. Let me log out of the phones and clock out. You know what I mean? If I want to go take a lunch break and I want to take a 20-minute lunch break and just scarf my food down and get back to work, I don't want to worry having to meal violate. Or if I want to take an hour and a half lunch because I want to get on the phone with a buddy of mine and pick my spirits up. Yeah, it's the freedom. It's the freedom that's a blessing and a curse. And I would say that you get addicted to the freedom. You get addicted to that. So and you want it at your job. Oh. You know, you want that freedom at your job. And I think okay. I don't know the specifics of it, so somebody could look it up if they want, but there was this job recently where I forget who it was. I was watching something, like a podcast or something, and
the guy was like explaining about this job where this guy said, you have unlimited vacation time. He's like, I give all my employees unlimited vacation time. And he's like, well, why'd you do that? Like, did they take a whole bunch of vacation and stuff like that? He's like, no, actually, they worked about the same, if not more, than they did at a regular job. He goes, they would have unlimited vacation, but obviously they wouldn't get paid. But they have unlimited vacation. They can take vacation whenever they wanted. And he said, but he goes, my success rate was like they came back and they were fully charged and they were ready to work. He goes, because they had that vacation time that they actually got the time off and they were just recharged and they wanted to go back to work and they were just so happy and they were living that happy lifestyle. And he says that business is so successful. He goes, but people wouldn't take as much vacation time as like if you were to, everyone saves their vacation and then they're just hardworking every single day and they get exhausted and they get tired and then they don't want to leave. And then when they do go on vacation, they have the dread coming back and like, I was on my week vacation that I had saved for the last year, And I think that's like huge because people crave that freedom. When there's a job opportunity like that, they do not want to leave that job. They didn't want to leave that job. Everybody stayed, But he proved a point of if I can give my employees that freedom, that same freedom as an entrepreneur to take vacation whenever you want, they'll come back and be twice as productive, and which was exactly true. Which I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
I'll have to find that.
So interesting. I think I've heard something like that before.
Yeah.
Now let me ask you this, and this is kind of where I want to end and wrap this up because I think that there's some really good golden nuggets in here. And I'm stealing this from I believe it's Jay Shetty's podcast. And I love this set of questions.
Who's that guy? No, I'm just kidding.
I love this set of questions. And
yeah, Russ did a lot of interviews with Jay
Shetty.
Yeah,
I've never heard your take on these two questions. So let me ask you this: what is the best piece of advice you've ever received?
That I ever received or learned?
What's the best piece of advice that you've ever? Yeah, I like that. What's the best piece of advice that you've ever learned?
Or that I've learned that I can give my best piece of advice?
Yeah, just from you. What's the best piece of advice that you've ever learned?
That's a good question.
Doesn't matter whether it pertains to business, life, love. Doesn't matter.
YOLO. You only live once. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, take your time. You don't need to answer it. You don't need to answer it immediately. Just take your time. Think about it.
No, I think one of the biggest things in life. I mean, this is kind of cliche, but I kind of, and everybody that knows me kind of like knows that like I kind of like to take big risks sometimes. Like, I'll take a big risk doing this or that, or like let's just do it. Like I kind of don't have a think twice personality, I kind of just do it, I mean, that's kind of foolish in a lot of things, but I'm like, yeah, like I had a Dodge Charger, right, that I had, and it was like 29% or something crazy. Like, it was like a credit card type of interest, right? On a payment, I was paying like $685 a month, like for 72 months. Like, it was crazy. I'm paying like $50,000 for this 2013 like Dodge Charger, right? But that's kind of what I do is I dive head first in, and that's something that I tell people, like take big risks in life, because you never know, like when you hit that lotto, like think about the people that win the lotto, like they had to take some type of risk, whether that's $3, $5, or they bought 5,000 lottery tickets, but if you don't take that big risk in life, you'll never know, like you said, like what that outcome is going to be. And I pledge people to take that big risk because you just never know. Like, you could, whether that's in business or landing the girl of your dreams, and you're like, dude, I'm just gonna risk it. I'm just gonna ask my best friend. I'm gonna ask my cousin's friend. Like I'm gonna ask. And or I'm gonna ask my friend from high school's sister. Like that was it for me. I was like, dude, I saw this one of my friends from high school, and I saw her on my Instagram, and she posted her sister, and I was like, oh, she's hot, And I just, maybe she was out of my league, but I still messaged her, and guess what? She rejected me for a year. But point of the story is she's now my wife, But that's the thing is like she rejected me for a year, and I just kept persisting, and I kept taking the big. I mean, it's not really a big risk, but it's a risk because I could have got rejected and just like left and like, whatever, she's not interested.
Yeah.
But I just kind of persisted in a nice way, and she like would like still kind of give a little bit back. But you just never know in life. Like you can take that big risk and in anything really. I'm gonna leave this last little bit because I know we're running out of time.
No.
Last little thing. Will Smith talked about this. Will Smith said that he got offered to jump out of a plane, go skydiving.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, it was scary. He's like, I don't want to jump out. He's like, I would tell people, yeah, let's go. I'll jump out of a plane anytime and whatnot. And you guys can watch the whole video on this, but maybe put it in your bio or your link or something like that. But there's a video of him where he was explaining this, and he was like, I got invited, and I was like, yeah, let's go. And he's like, deep down inside, I was scared. He's like, I was so scared to jump out of this plane. And he's like, I'm nervous. He's like, I can feel my stomach in my throat. Like he goes, and then he goes like, we get in the plane and we're flying up to the altitude we're supposed to jump out at it, and boom, the doors fly open, and he's like, he's like, I was so scared. He goes, then we have a countdown. I see everybody jumping out of the plane, and I'm scared. I'm so scared. I'm sweating. He's like, I'm just like holding on for my dear life on the handles. And he said that, they tell you to jump on 3. They say 1, 2, and then they jump you out at 2, so you don't anticipate it and hold on and, and get stuck or whatever. But he says, once you jump out of that plane, he's like, pure bliss. He's like, I never thought that, jumping out of a plane would have such a blissful feeling. He goes, it's just like, you like the world, like the stresses of the world gets turned off, and it's just pure bliss. And I'm like, that's cool, because that's in a literal sense a big jump, and you're scared, and that's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
You're scared of what's on the other side of that wall, but sometimes on the other side of that wall, you got to take a big risk in order to go through that wall. And once you're on the other side of that wall, it could be something beautiful on the other side that you're missing out on.
That's what it's been for me my entire life.
Yeah.
And that's the what if that I've been talking about, is I cannot live with the idea of what if. I'd rather know. I'd rather a flat out no than a maybe.
Yeah.
Because a maybe, that'll kill me.
So what's your biggest advice?
It's not advice. It's advice to myself. It's the biggest lesson. The biggest lesson I've learned so far is from my mentor, Jim Rohn. And it's this advice. It is, you can have more than you've got because you can become more than you are. And it's that.
Mic drop.
And it's that I'm chasing. I'm chasing becoming more. I'm chasing. That's why I read so much. That's why I listen. That's why I'm so passionate about podcasting, because they've played such a pivotal role in my self-development over the past 8 years. Mm-hmm. That's why I love reading. That's why I love watching seminars and talks, because I'm becoming more at a core level, not just in business, because business is business, whatever.
But business is part of that.
But business is a part of that core, right? Because everything in life is connected. So if you're sharper, you're smart, you're sharper, you're quicker, you have more information to pull from. Even Elon Musk said that people should just start reading because it's an information game. The more that we can consume, then the more relatable that we can become. So Jim Rohn said, you can have more than you've got because you could become more than you are. And it's that I'm chasing. Let me ask you one last thing and we'll wrap it up here. What's the worst piece of advice you've ever received?
Worst piece of advice. That's a good question. I haven't really got a lot of advice from people, to be quite honest. Like, yeah. I don't know why. Mm-hmm. Maybe there's a reason why I haven't got a lot of advice. Maybe because actually I do know why when I think about it. That's because I don't do it, and that's a bad thing, and that's, you got to be adaptable to you got to be able to adapt and follow people's lead sometimes. But I think the worst piece of advice is like, maybe
it's from yourself. Maybe it's self-inflicted.
No, I think I'm pretty good with myself. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, every time I need expert advice, I talk to myself.
I ask myself, and then I'm like, yeah, you're right, Eli. You should do that.
Yeah.
No, I think seriously. I think that
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I got an advice from somebody else, but I think an advice maybe I heard or something like that was that you should just work hard. If you work hard, you'll like become successful. And like that's true to a certain extent, but there's a lot of hard workers out there. You know what I mean? They like
Yeah.
I've seen some guys who get paid nothing, get paid peanuts, and they're the hardest working guys I've ever seen in my life. And they don't get paid what Elon Musk gets paid. You know, like they hard work doesn't always just pay off. Like yeah, it does. Like when you grind and you're successful in this podcast and you work hard to make this what it is, right? Or you whatever you want it to become and you work hard at it, great, that's awesome. But
Mhm.
just hard work itself is not enough to just like become what you want to become, you know? But I think it is a huge play. Like obviously it's a huge play to work hard, but I think people it's so loosely thrown around like, oh, like work hard. Like, you know, like it's like shut up, dude. Like, you know,
Yeah.
like shut
Yeah.
up, work hard. Okay,
Work
yeah, everyone works hard.
Yeah.
Everyone. I mean, even people at McDonald's, I see them slaving, dude. They're running back and forth. You know, they work hard. The guys at In and Out, don't even get me started. You know, these kids, dude, they're like kids there. A lot of those guys are like 18, 19, 20, 21, you know, and I see them running back and forth doing orders, boom, 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 busy bees all day long, you know. But are they buying the Lamborghini? No, the owner is, you know, and where's he?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He maybe worked hard in his job to like eventually maybe pay, or maybe he started a business, or maybe he got that business attained, or maybe he got it handed down. Like, you know, like there's people in this world that get handed wealth, you know, and they didn't work that hard. So, you know, so they could not work at all. You know, but that's just I think that's
I like that. I think that is such a beautiful combination actually, is take big risks, and the worst piece of advice is work really hard, like work hard, right? And I think that's a perfect combo.
just work hard.
Just work hard, right? I think
There's a
that's a
lot that
perfect
goes into
combo.
it. Yeah.
Right? That's a perfect combo, and I love that. And I
would
just
you
want to man, I think the worst piece of advice is and I saw this in a movie and it resonated with me so elegantly, is the worst piece of advice is it's not that easy. And it is that easy. It is. It's
Very
not
simple.
It's not hard. Like if you want to lose weight, eat a calorie deficit.
Work hard. I'm just kidding.
Work hard. Like it's not.
No, yeah, it's true.
It's like being a calorie deficit. That's it. That's the formula. How do you lose weight? Eat less than what you're like. Work more than what you're eating.
Yeah, when I was plant-based for
What
like a
you're putting
year, I
in.
lost like 30 pounds. I didn't work out.
That's it. And then like, oh, like how do you make money? Well, the formula is simple. Find something of value and take it to the marketplace.
Yeah.
And the more valuable you or it becomes, the more people will pay for it. That's it. That's it. Like it's not any more complicated than that.
Yeah.
Right? There's a lot of things that people like to fluff and put around things, but the simple truth is that things are simple. And for people to say it's not that easy or it's not that simple, that's a false narrative. It is that simple.
Mm.
And
There's a lot of moving parts, but it's still simple.
it is still simple.
The goal is still
And
simple.
there are very complex things for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But the reality of life is it is that simple.
Mm-hmm.
You interested in a girl? Hey, this is my name. I think you're very beautiful. I'd like to get to know you.
Yeah, it's not complicated with that.
It's easy.
Yeah.
Right? You want to work at a specific place and they
Walk
rejected
in.
your
Walk in.
they reject your application online? Well, walk in. Hey, put a face to the
Oh,
application.
that's a great piece of advice. Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it
amazing.
is that simple. So on that, dude, I just want to say that I am extremely grateful to have you as a business partner. I'm extremely grateful to have been born into the same family as we have been born into.
Yep.
And
Amen.
and thank you for always holding it down for me, bro.
Yeah,
because there's a lot of people that I was thinking about reaching out to for this first episode, and you were the first one that I knew I could trust in pulling through for me, and you have both times.
Yeah,
even the first time, it completely being a disaster.
Yeah.
and having
On
to
New Year's
scrap
Eve.
on New Year's Eve and having to scrap all of that, you still pulled through for me, and I think that that's
Yeah, we had a lot of conversations of like, we keep it? Do we don't? Nah, I don't know.
and it's one of those things, and I'm extremely grateful that I have a very, very tight niche circle of friends that I can rely on and trust on, and I'm happy to say that you're one of them.
Yeah, thank you, man. And I feel the same, man. And I, I I don't know anybody that's, you know, that's as intelligent as you, in a business sense. Like when I think about anything business, I was just showing you the first thing I did when I came here, I showed you something I saw on Netflix about business. And I'm like, dude, look at this. Look at this clip. Look at how boss this guy is. Like, look at, he taught us something about business. Like that. And like, that's so funny that it's like so cliche. Like, oh, like, yeah, he wouldn't like talked about business and shit, like, but like, that's what we do for fun, and we send each other business, like things on Instagram all the time. But, and I think that like, that's huge for me. And you've always been somebody I could look up to, and, and doing it beside you is like cool, because it's like, wow, like I get to experience this with somebody that not only is my family, but it's my best friend, when we get to travel and, we get to go do things, and we even got paid to go travel and help other people, in our other business. And I think that's such a cool thing, to travel with your best friend, with your family. And I'm very blessed to have that. And, there's even times where I've had dreams of losing you, man. And I wake up like almost in tears, like, oh my God, like, I can't believe that. Like, it was I'm so glad it was just a nightmare, like, I can never imagine not having you around, man, because I don't know what I would do. I'd feel lost, man. But, thank God that you're still here, and we're still doing this business together, man, and we can continue. And I wish all the success on this podcast, and hopefully we can have a funny podcast together. Maybe that's hey, shout out to what's next is podcast with me and you, man, being our funny self, because this is a very serious type of advice that we can give through our struggles. But
this is very one cornered of our crazy personality,
man,
dude. And I'm blessed to have you, bro. And
thanks for having me too.
Words can't describe the gratitude I have. So thank you, bro.
Yeah, no
All right.
problem. Hey, Mike, cheers.
Mike, cheers. All right, thank you guys.